I was thinking about that because I saw that a lot of other people were thinking about it when you just do a simple Google search on the matter. But looking at DoorDash, is it really a good job? Now, if this is the first time that you and I are meeting, this channel is dedicated to your success in this gig economy, the side hustle. So if you are new here, consider subscribing. And for a fast track on how to maximize success on delivery apps such as DoorDash, check out yourdrivermike.com/delivery. But speaking of delivery, specifically DoorDash, from someone who has close to 1,400 deliveries, I'm coming to you here in San Diego, California, is it really a good job? Well, firstly, you have to define good. And I'm sure good means, hey, can I make good money from this? Now, when it comes to earnings, for me, continually, that's repeated shift after shift, my numbers show $24 an hour in gross revenue. That's what I'm averaging here in San Diego. That's knowing the best practices, when, where, and how to drive. And again, that's after close to 1,400 deliveries. But I do not always make that. That is an average. So you need to consider this. I have shifts that are what? $14, $15, $17 per hour in gross revenue. But if you're hitting less than that, if you're at 13, even 14, even $15 an hour, I would look at that and consider, is that good? That's really the baseline, is how much am I making per hour, right? If you want to look at nothing else, it's earnings per hour. So considering if this is good, consider yes and no, because basically anyone can sign up for DoorDash. Granted, yes, you meet the age requirements, you meet the vehicle, the insurance requirements. We're assuming all of that. So what really makes this good? Consider there's a lot of other options out there. Is it good because it's flexible? Well, yes, and typically on DoorDash, there's two ways to start earning money. If it's busy enough in your marketplace, you can use the Dash Now feature. Option number two, I can set aside time to drive. That's scheduled shifts. So I can say, well, I want to sign up for this segment of my marketplace and drive from whatever it is, 6 to 8 p.m., 4 to 8 p.m., etc. Okay, great, it's flexible, but every other app in the gig economy is. Well, okay, is it good because it has less problems than other apps? About that. I don't want to be the bearer of bad news. At least from my experience driving on most every gig economy app out there. In my experience, DoorDash is a bit prone to crashes. So is DoorDash a good job? Well, if you want to drive on an app that is prone to crashes, it's here and there. It's not that frequent, and it is getting better, maybe once a quarter or less. So what does that look like if you're dashing? Well, sometimes you can't even log in. Sometimes you'll see order requests come in, you can't even click on it, you can't even advance in the Dasher app, and in general, it just acts kind of funky. Okay, well, I can deal with some crashes. You mentioned that it is getting better, and it is. It's not as bad. So is DoorDash a good job as far as being sustainable? I'm gonna be honest, as someone who's been in this gig economy since 2015, I wouldn't count on it. And I say that because these apps have had a history of not necessarily being on the upswing for drivers. That is generally speaking, but what's the number one thing you're concerned about on any of these apps? It is pay. For 99% of you, I'm sure it's pay. For me, it's pay. So I'm sure for most of you, it is pay. Now, having started in the rideshare space, I started on Uber in October of 2015. I shortly, a month after, added Lyft in 2015. And over the next, I'd say 2 years or so, 2 or 3 years, those apps reduced rates for drivers. I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania at the time. So something that I want you to consider as a driver, talking to a driver or a prospective driver, is I've seen that these apps on multiple niches in this gig economy have had controversies. They've had pay decreases, like I just mentioned. And DoorDash is not without their own faults as well. I mentioned controversies. DoorDash had a pay, again, coming out of your wallet, a pay controversy where they were using customer tips to fulfill the base pay to you. Now, they have since fixed that. They've updated their pay system, but that's just one side of the coin. Remember, I mentioned Other apps have just straight up reduced pay to drivers. So we're talking about DoorDash. Let's consider DoorDash a company that's only 7 years old. Now, I like DoorDash. It's a great tool in my arsenal in this gig economy. And in my opinion, it makes great money, at least here in San Diego. Of course, like a lot of these apps, it varies on market. So actually, I'm interested in your favorite, what app you like best in the gig economy. Let me know down below in the comments. But it's still a pretty young company. So there is no guarantee where these apps are gonna go when we think about sustainability. So is DoorDash a good job? Let's review. Pay, that is gonna be highly contingent on your marketplace. I know I have read a lot of you may have $1, $2 peak pay. You may have maybe $3, and you certainly may not have $4, $5, $6, $7 peak pay. But other markets you do, it does vary. And then moreover, how frequently are they offered? I would drive on a $2 peak pay if it's quite frequent, or if $2 peak pay is quite rare, that may lead to saturation. Now, I talk about on this channel is finding the happy medium of not necessarily going for the highest peak pay on a DoorDash, because again, that can lead to saturation. Which is why it's massively important that you don't just sign on and drive. Because yeah, you can do that and you can just follow the steps and drive and make some money, but I want you to make the most money possible. I want you to be in the top 15% of driver earners. So the flexibility, it is nice, and there's actually some challenges, Prop 22, specifically here in California, that may be challenging that flexibility, which rolls into the next point about sustainability. And lastly, I want you to diversify. If you are just signing up for DoorDash, if you're just getting into this gig economy, you're like, well, I'm not really sure which app I want to sign up for. Maybe I'll try DoorDash. I want you to actually cast a wide net with your applications, with apps. So if you're signing up for DoorDash, or even if you just drive for DoorDash, you have to add Uber Eats, Grubhub, Postmates. Other markets even have more apps. I would sign up for them all. Because again, the point about sustainability, we don't know what's going to happen with these companies. A great example, I drive for Amazon Flex. It's a great app. Now, some of you may not know that Amazon had a food delivery service. It was called Amazon Restaurants. And I liked Amazon Restaurants. It would be, again, another tool in my gig arsenal of apps. And it would surge quite frequently. Surge is incentive pay, it's bonus pay to use a driver. And lo and behold, the market share, which I was following, but the market share, it just wasn't there for Amazon Restaurants. So they closed up shop on the entirety of Amazon Restaurants. And of course, it's not a thing anymore. So I'm not saying that Uber, Lyft, DoorDash is going to go that way, but something else to consider is Postmates is kind of going that way. Postmates is set to be acquired by Uber next year in 2021, assuming that a deal closes. Now, Postmates is still going to be around, and of course, Uber and Uber Eats is still going to be around. But I mean, come on, these are year-to-year changes that you need to prepare for, because we're not sure how this is going to affect our bottom line when these changes happen. So is DoorDash a good job? Actually, let me know down below in the comments. What do you think? Is it a good job? My verdict, it is. For now, the flexibility is good. The pay, at least in my market, and I hope in your market as well, is good. And it is the #1 player in the space. Another reason I recommend signing up for DoorDash if you haven't already. So if you got value in this video, definitely leave me a like. And if you are getting into this side hustle, this gig economy, check out my Amazon storefront. It's linked down below so you can get the very best accessories for your side hustle. And you can click or tap the screen now for my most recent video, as well as a video recommended for you. And I'll see you in the next one.